We are talking commissions. And the reason we're talking commissions this week is because it is going to affect everybody. It's going to affect buyers. It's going to affect sellers. And I've heard so many misconceptions about what's going on right now in the real estate industry. It is the deadline date. The deadline date means August 17th. August 17th is the date that most MLSs have to remove the buyer agent commission from the MLS. Now, this is all in the idea behind transparency, which is another conversation that we're going to have. I don't think that's really going to happen, but this is what's happening this week. So if you're thinking that you are going to list your house next week and you're not paying buyer agent commissions, or you are a buyer and you're going to go straight to the listing agent, this is going to explain to you how every single thing has changed. That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's spend a little time with that. Let's get into it. All right, still trying to understand a little bit more. If the buyer agrees to pay 2% buyer's commission to their agent, and the seller has agreed to pay their buyer's agent 2.5%, who gets the extra 0.5%? Nobody. Or does the buyer get to keep the 0.5%? Great question. So I'm going to start with that question right now. So the way things are written right now, the way the rules are, the way the law is, anytime a buyer goes to see a house, okay, if they are going to see a house, they have to sign a document. Now, this can be a full buyer compensation agreement. It can be for 6 months, a month, a year, whatever it is, or it can be a single showing. Okay, so if you are just wanting to go in and see a home, you as a buyer will be forced, yes, forced to sign something. If you do not sign something, you can't see the house. There is a little caveat, unless you go to an open house or unless you talk to the listing agent directly. However, that's not what I'm suggesting doing here, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. So when you are agreeing to see a house, okay, let's say you're going to see a house, you've said, I'm going to pay my buyer's agent 2% if they're not paying out a commission. Now, the house that they happen to be going to is paying out 2.5% commission, like this one says there. What is stated is if the seller is paying out more than the compensation written on the buyer agent agreement, the buyer agent is only allowed to get the amount on their buyer's agreement. That extra 5%, who is it going to? It will go back to the seller. It will go back to the seller. The buyer doesn't benefit necessarily from that. So that is really significant. So let's say that you get somebody to, let's say you're a buyer and you're like, I'm going to go and get the buyer's agent to sign this agreement that I'm only going to pay him $100 if, you know, they take me and show me, and then we write up the contract. And you find out that the seller is paying out 2.5%. Well, you don't get that. The sellers are going to keep that. That's where the money is going to go. The buyer's agent is only allowed to get that $100. Work, was that clear?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's very confusing, very confusing. So let me get into this other part. Okay. Also, isn't it better going forward to leave the amount blank for the home seller? And when the buyer's agent calls the agent for the seller agent says that the commission is negotiable depending on the offer. Yes. Now, it's very complicated. We don't know exactly how this is going to work. We're going to have to play it out over the next couple of months, the next year, the next 3 to 5 years. Really, truly, it's going to play out. So I talked to an agent the other day, and I was talking to her about what the buyer's market looked like in her area. What did the seller's market look like? And I said, so, you know, are the sellers still going to pay out a buyer agent commission? And she said, oh, for sure, it's going to be 3%. And I said, oh, really? What's that about? She said, oh, absolutely. The sellers are still paying 3% and they'll pay 3% to the buyers. I said, well, tell me more about this. And she said, you know, they're in a community that they get a lot of people coming into. They're in Colorado. She said, so we get a lot of tourists, and I basically am a tour guide for 3 full days. She said, but they come into Colorado and then they say, well, we might be looking in Utah as well. So if she is out there showing homes to a potential buyer who she is basically a tour guide for, she is not going to go to a seller who's not paying out a commission. Now, if the buyer agrees that they're going to pay out 3%, then sure, she'll go. But if the buyer is saying, well, I'm only going to pay you 2%, or I'm only going to pay you 1%, she's going to say, forget it. There is zero chance I'm going to be showing these homes. So you really, really, really have to think about this as a seller on what you're going to do. Now, I will also tell you a lot of agents are not talking about this realistically because either they don't know or they want to benefit from this. So, Warwick, let's open it up for a discussion here. I know
Yeah.
I just threw a lot of stuff out there. What are your thoughts on this too?
Well, look, based just on that, this is definitely going to be location based on what's going to happen, right? It's going to be demographic based, it's going to be location based, and that's what we're going to have to play out. Now, in an area where you have a very solid agent, they can probably guess which way it's going to lean. But that's what I'm seeing initially. In a lower demographic area, there's definitely going to have to be some compensation offered by the seller because buyers will not be able to come up with that money plus a down payment. You cannot finance buyers' commission in this new system. There is some ways to do it. So that's what I'm thinking off the top of my head right now. It's going to be location specific.
Now it's going to be difficult no matter which way you look at it, because you have this agent who's saying, well, I'm just not going to show that. I think we got a comment in there is, how is that legal? How is that legal? It's absolutely legal, because if what they'll do is they'll say to their client, they'll say, listen, you only signed a buyer's agreement for, 1%. I'm not, first of all, I'm not going to work for that. So they might not work for that. Or then they'll say to the seller, to the buyer, they'll say, listen, this house is not offering anything out. You've agreed to pay me a 3%. This home is not offering anything. Are you willing to go to this house and pay a 3% if you get it? And I will tell you, these are multi-million dollar homes. We're talking 2 million and up. So it's up to the buyer. The buyer is going to say, absolutely not. I've got 17 other choices. I don't need to see this because it's already overpriced. I'm not going to pay an additional 3% on top of that because the sellers are not paying it out. So the buyer's agents absolutely will tell the buyers that there is no commission being paid out. And they'll say, do you want to see that? So
Yeah.
now in a seller's market, here's the thing you have to remember. If you're in a seller's market, this might work. This might work if you're in a seller's market. If you're in a buyer's market, this is a terrible, terrible idea to not pay out a buyer agent. Terrible idea. So while everything's changing, we are going to be turned up around in crazy, crazy things. There's lots of things that could possibly happen from this. Now,
Yeah, go for it.
sorry, Warwick, you want to say something there?
This adds a whole nother dimension that's unknown to the negotiations. It really does. And it changes a lot for both buyers and sellers. When we look at offers coming in on a listing we rarely evaluate many things that the end user doesn't see. We evaluate how the offer comes in with the mortgage contingency, if it's as is, how the inspection is, all of this, right? We take in all these factors, and then every offer is not apples to apples, right? Now this is adding a huge dimension to it because it also affects our pay as well. And let's be honest, we're working to get paid.
Absolutely. All right. So, we have a couple more commission questions that I have, but I want to go into the chat and let's talk through some of these in there. All right.
What do you want to
Let's do the, this is a good one. Can I get sued if I make a mistake on the disclosure form? You bet you can.
Yep.
You can get sued for anything.
It's America. You can get sued for anything.
So that's my husband's answer, who is an attorney, as we all know, is that yes, you can get sued for anything. Will you get sued if you made a mistake? Maybe, maybe not. If you knew, and you did not fill out your disclosures correctly, that's a real problem. A real issue. So let's say that you have a window that you cannot get open. Okay, let's say it's just stuck. And on your disclosure form, it says, do all of your windows work? And you say yes. And you know there is a window that you can't open. And you know that because you can't get it open. You better put it on the disclosure to cover your CYA. I won't swear. But you got a CYA on that one. So if you put it on the disclosure, it doesn't mean somebody's not going to purchase the home. Keep that in mind. Just because you have something on the disclosure does not mean they're not going to buy the home. you may have a great home and you might have a cracked garage floor. That might be a disclosure item. Well, that's fine. Put it on there. You have to disclose the things and don't worry about, oh, maybe we shouldn't put this on there. No, put it on there, because then you really are going to have a very strong case if you are sued. Does that make sense?
No, definitely. And one thing is, just because there's an issue doesn't mean you have to fix it. You can disclose it, and then it just is there. If you do fix something, and you haven't experienced if it's worked yet or not, also maybe disclose it. Let's say you had a leaky window, and then you got it fixed, but it hasn't rained since then. You might want to talk to your agent and see if you recommend mentioning that, because you have the receipts, it's all done, it used to leak, it's all fixed, but here's the paperwork all done. It's rather to be better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. So if you fix something, you may want to put it on there. Absolutely, for sure. Catherine's asking, I like that one. Should I have a pre-inspection? You know what? If your home is in really good condition and you take care of your home. So if your home is like an unpolished potential or a modern move-in, probably. And you guys know I've got that new stuff, my new quiz in my seller's playbook. It's the Profitable Homeowners investment matrix that you guys can fill out. If you have one of those two types of homes, yes, it's probably a good idea, because you're the type of person that's taking care of your home and you're going to fix it, and then you can promote it. If you're in one of the other categories, you're really taking a risk, because if you find out something that's a disclosure item, you are going to have to disclose it. So, Catherine, I'm going to guess your home, just based on how long you've been here, is a modern move-in. That is my guess. All right. Next question.
There we go.
I haven't signed with a realtor yet. One of the realtors I interviewed is asking if she could bring someone to see my home. Is that okay? Krista, I'm walking through this with you step by step, because we know exactly who you're talking to. I don't think you should do that. The reason why is because, first of all, it'll be a dual agency unless she's not representing you. But here's the issue, is that if you sell your home pre-going on the market, you will always second guess yourself, especially if they give you the offer that you're looking for. You will always second guess yourself. And so it's really, I don't recommend it in this type of market right now. I've done it before. Or if you're trying to get a lower commission, maybe it's just one-sided, but it's just not in your best interest. Your best interest is to do great pictures, to get the price right, and to put it out to the general public. Now, if you choose another agent, that agent is still going to bring somebody over to your house, and then you'll be represented, and then they'll be represented. Yeah. Warwick, you want to comment on that one?
I do not have any comments there, because I was just adding stuff to the chat there.
No worries. Okay.
A couple more. Now we're getting back into the commission talk. So let's jump into that.
Yep. So wouldn't the buyer only have to pay what was not covered by the seller? Yes. Now, if the seller's amount is less than the buyer agent agreement, yes, the buyer has to cover the difference. So if you're offering 1% and the buyer's agent has agreed that they're going to pay 2.5%, the buyer has to come to the table with an additional 1.5%.
Yep.
Yes.
Definitely.
But if it's the other way around, no, that money does not go to the buyer. It goes back to the seller. So the seller would pay 2.5% to the buyer's agent, and the buyer would pay nothing to the agent. Yes, if there was a document that was signed for 2.5%, correct. It's not on top of it. Okay, I am going to put this back up here. All right, so under the new NAR rules, what happens now if a buyer goes to an open house? The listing agent is at or calls the listing agent directly and wants to write an offer with the listing agent. Obviously, they can't have contracts to fully represent both parties. Now, and we had a question about this being a dual agency.
Yeah.
Some states do not allow dual agency. With this new agreement, I think there's going to be very, very few dual agencies. Very, very few. I can't imagine a lot of agents wanting to step into this.
And keep in mind, if your state does allow dual agency and you are selling the house, your listing agent has to get approved by you to be a dual agent.
Absolutely. So it seems the commission decoupling has eliminated the possibility of that listing agent double dipping. But I'm wondering how the agency part works now. This is such a great question. Is the buyer still left unrepresented if they contact the listing agent directly? Okay. Have the listing agent duties to buyers changed at all? Is the listing agent required to sign a buyer agreement to show the buyers their own listing? Right. Okay. So this is really, really a great question. So the lawsuit basically said that commissions now are being decoupled. What decoupling means is that the listing brokerage really is not paying the buying brokerage. The seller is paying the buying brokerage, not the listing broker is paying the buyer brokerage. It is a very, very slight distinction that comes through at the closing table with the title company. Okay. However, a company like mine, like EXP, I'm an EXP, has created new listing agreements to address this. And people are getting very worked up because they think EXP listings will not be paying out a buyer broker commission, which is not true. We have now created a contract. EXP has a contract that just states what the seller is going to pay their agent. That's it. Okay. In that listing agreement, all it says is what is the seller going to pay their agent? And then the other thing it says is what is the seller going to pay their agent if an unrepresented buyer comes to write an offer on the home? Because let's say I'm a listing agent and a buyer comes to the home and says, oh, can you open the door for me? Can you help me? Can you do an inspection? Can you write up my, can you write up my offer? Can you give me all your resources? Now, as the listing agent, I'm doing a lot of additional work that normally a buyer's agent would do. I don't know this person. I would have to vet this person. I'd have to talk to their lender. I'd have to find out all this information about them. So it's not in my best interest to actually do both sides anymore, right? Because that the seller has agreed to pay me as a listing agent a certain amount. Now, if a buyer comes unrepresented, I will charge an additional amount where I will do the transactional duties. I will not represent the buyer as a transactional broker, or I will not represent the buyer as a broker. It will be a transactional broker, which means it's basically tell me what you're going to write, tell me when your inspection is, and it's a back and forth. I will be representing my seller.
So
it is
it's
not a
not
dual
dual
agency.
agency, but
Mm-mm.
it's dual. Is there a new term that's coming out for that?
I mean, it's just non-representation
Okay.
is what it is. And I will not represent the buyer. I'll say to the buyer, okay, how much do you want to offer? And the buyer is going to say, well, how much do you think I should offer? And I will say, I cannot advise you on that. You have to do your own research on that.
Yep.
So, okay, well, tell me, what should I ask for in the inspection? I can't tell you what to ask for in the inspection. You need to come on your own with that. And so many buyers are thinking what they're going to do is they're going to go straight to the listing agent and then they're going to save the money. Well, who's saving the money? The seller's saving the money. The buyer's not saving the money,
Yeah, and I'll
right?
tell you what, buying a home unrepresented is never a good idea. There's timelines, there's deadlines, there's things that need to happen in
Yep.
a certain amount of time, and it is quick. So doing this by yourself because you're trying to save a couple pennies will actually cost you more in the long run. Now, I just want to touch on something. Most people think when they're on Zillow and it says contact agent, that that's actually going to the listing agent.
Right.
That is not going to the
Right.
listing agent. That's going to a buyer's agent that is paying to advertise on Zillow so they get your information and they can help you find a home. Now, something different that homes.com is doing, and it may change, is they actually highlight the listing agent on homes.com. So homes.com lists the listing agent, and that contact us goes to that listing agent. Zillow does not go to the listing agent. You can see it on Zillow, but that contact us actually goes to a buyer's agent. So that's just a little piece of information for
Yeah,
you guys.
and I want to have you guys put this in perspective. I want you to think of yourselves, first of all, as a seller, okay, which everybody pretty much on our channel is a seller. But I want you to think about this for a second. And you're thinking, oh, I want to save the money. I want to save this commission. I want to save this percentage. First of all, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to add up the amount of commission percentage. I want you to take that percentage, if it's 1%, 2%, 0.5%, how much are you saving? And I want you to translate that into dollars. Because if you translate it into dollars, you may be only talking $1,000 versus $3,000 or $5,000 versus $10,000 to get the higher level of service. So I want you to take it out, stop thinking percentage and think dollars. Okay. And I want you to think as a seller. Let's say let's say I'm your agent and I get a random call from a buyer who says, I am not working with a buyer's agent because I don't want to sign an agreement and I'm trying to get the best deal I can. And so I come to you and I say, okay, so I have a buyer that would like to see the property. Are you comfortable? I know nothing about this buyer. I do not have a pre-approval. They are not represented. I don't know where they came from. Are you as a seller comfortable with that? Are you as a seller comfortable with me as your listing agent bringing in somebody random who I have no idea who it is? Typically what happens as a seller's agent, a buyer's agent is working with them and has vetted them, has talked to them, has shown them multiple homes, has the agreement and is negotiating with them and has seen their pre-approval letter. Most buyer's agents will not show a home without a proof of funds or a pre-approval letter. So are you as a seller comfortable? And you want do you want that? Do you want the buyer to come directly to your agent so that the buyer thinks that they can save the money? Is that what you want? Add up how much that's going to save you.
And from experience, the people trying to save the pennies are the most difficult people.
Yeah. Now I'm going to comment here because I see this right here. This is not what we're talking about. 6% of a $750,000 home is $45,000 robbery. I'm not talking about 6%. So if you are paying, let's pretend you're paying your listing agent 2.5%. Okay. What I'm talking about is, are you willing to pay an additional $22,000, $5,000? Are you? That's fine. You're not. Okay. So how much are you willing to pay? So in this situation, are you willing to have anybody who calls up your listing agent go and show the home? Like, that's what I'm talking about, because you're going to pay the listing side no matter what, right? Whatever that is, whatever that negotiation is, you're going to pay the listing side. I want you to think about, what on the buyer side are you actually paying and what is it worth to you? What is it worth to you for real? Okay.
So here's another one.
All right. My home is about $1 million. So 6% is $60,000. Outrageous. Higher than annual salary of many people. Well, so what though? Like, that's what I'd say is, so what? Is it getting your house sold for the most amount of money? Are you having the least amount of stress? It's about the product. It's about the end for you. Am I worth, I don't make 6% on a home. I'm making, between 2 and 3.5% on a home. That's my side. So take that. So is $30,000 worth it to you to be represented by your listing agent who is going to make you more money? For all of you guys out there who say you'd love to have me as your agent, like, do you think I brought you value? Do you think I've helped you make tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars more? Do you think I've given you all of the insight that you need? Isn't that worth something? What is that worth? What is that absolutely worth? And because we don't sell, 1,700 homes a year. If we were selling, 1,700 homes a year, it would be different. But in order to get that knowledge, I had to do a certain number of deals. Now I've done over 600 deals. Okay. So I have had the experience. So if you're talking to an agent who's only done 5 deals, you bet that's a lot of money and it's probably not worth it. But when you're talking to somebody like me who is able to guide you, able to save you money or make you more money, you need to think about, what is it worth to you to have this done? Because there is a lot here. There's a lot here. I know I'm passionate about this.
Well, the chat's going wild here.
Oh boy.
Guys, bottom line is, if you can sell your home, you've always been able to sell your home by yourself. What we're saying is, this is such a high dollar transaction, and this is something you're doing once every 10 years, 5 years, whenever. Agents get to do this nonstop, all day. They see all these issues, the potential issues. They understand the transaction issues. So yes, we are experienced in this. The more transactions, the more experience, because no one deal is the same. So
Absolutely.
You can do it yourself. You can sell your $1 million.
Yeah, go ahead, sell it yourself.
And save $60,000.
I think that I've given all of you enough information to go sell your home yourselves. Now, does that mean you've seen as many transactions, seen as many red flags, seen as many deals fall through? So I closed on over 600 homes. How many deals have I seen fall through? How many customers have I shown homes to? How many homes have I been in versus how many homes have you been in? Versus, the new agent down the street. So it's all about the experience. And while, yes, it's kind of like an attorney, right? You're paying more for experienced attorneys because they can do it in less amount of time. It's the same type of thing. So I'm not saying every agent is worth 3, 4, 5, 6%. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that the purpose of this lawsuit, is to destroy the real estate agent industry. I truly believe it. Because what it's going to do is it's going to lessen the value that we provide. And if you have been on this channel for a long time, you know the value I provide. You guys know it. You're here, you're back, you're downloading our playbook, you're getting me to refer you an agent. You know the value I bring to the table. And so when we are being told that this is just a transaction, this is just, a percentage, it's way more than that. The advice that I give to my clients can make or cost them tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I've seen it. I see it every single day. I see it every time I go into Zillow and I look at these homes. I see it in the emails you guys are sending me, the pain, the tears that you guys are giving to me. So it's like the attack on the real estate agents is overwhelming right now. But I want you to take a step back and I want you to stop thinking about how much real estate agents make, because there are half the agents in this country don't even sell a house. Out of 1.5 million agents, only 750,000 of them are going to sell a house in a year, right? So now you got 750,000 of them who might be good, maybe not. But the average number of homes that they're selling, they're only making in a career, in their year, $50,000 a year. So it's just take a step back from the overall and drill down. And it all depends on the service that you're getting from your agent.
Look, and that's 60,000, right? You're talking 6% on a million. That's also two different agents. That's also brokerages. Also, that's pre-tax. So everything that you see out there is not what it is actually. That's not money in one agent's pocket. That's paid out to agents, their brokerages, and then there's still tax on there. That is what it is, right? That's how people see agents, unfortunately. And I'm a newer agent. I've been here for 2.5 years now. And I always had the same opinion that everyone is saying in the chats until I've been in here and I actually see it. Now, a home selling in a week is not the difficult part. It's the negotiation. That's where the value add comes from. It's knowing what can and what will go wrong during a transaction. It's going to a home and seeing what goes under the disclosures that could be an issue. It's having those honest conversations. And that's where the value is. The value isn't in, oh, it sold in a week, that was too easy. The value is in the experience in the transaction, the negotiation, the getting clients in, it's multiple negotiations. That's where you're paying.
I always say, Warwick, the hard part is after you accept the contract and getting it to closing. Is that buyer real? Are they going to get their mortgage? Are they turning in their earnest money? How is the inspection going? What are the negotiations in the inspection? That is harder than necessarily getting the contract. It is really, really tough. This is hilarious. I think this is a funny comment. You online agents are millions times better than those hellish and criminal small town crook agents. Okay. Yes, there are a lot of those people out there. Absolutely. But I am telling you, I can tell the great agents that are out there. Yes, I totally agree. And I get some of you guys who email me and are like, what should I use this agent? And I'm like, oh my God, that's a terrible agent. Like I look at all their stuff. I look at their data. I look at their social media. I look at their listings. Like it's my neighbor down the street. And I'm like, and I'll say, that's probably not somebody I'd recommend. But with that being said, I can find an agent pretty much anywhere in the country, that is a good agent. That's why when you're talking about this type of commission, you want to talk to an agent that's willing to walk away from their commission. That is ultimately the bottom line. Any agent who's willing to walk away from their commission, who knows that you're overpriced, who knows that maybe you're too cheap, that you're going to be too difficult, anyone who's willing to work with somebody and walk away from that potential commission is the agent you should go with. Any agent who's like, yeah, you know what, this isn't a right fit for me, that is your agent. Those are the agents who are going to be your best supporters, your best fans, because those are going to be the people who are looking out for you. And if you guys know you need an agent, let me know. And me and Lisa, my daughter, are going to work on this. We work on this all day personally. We will help you find those agents, and we're going to get you 3 of them to choose from. Oh my gosh. And I will tell you, I'm going to tell this story real quick before I get into that. So we referred an agent the other day. And she was very experienced in her community. The only caveat I give when I refer agents is that I say to I say is that I don't know their bedside manner. So I don't know specifically how they talk to people. I don't know if your personality is going to connect. And I referred this agent, and she called and talked to the seller, and she was livid when she heard out the seller was interviewing other agents, livid. And she emailed me, and she basically lit me on fire and told me to remove her from her list. How dare she have to talk to this? And I wrote that seller an email, and I said, do not use this agent. I said, I am not happy with this response. So I will tell you, I can refer you people who do a good job. I cannot refer their bedside manner. So you guys know, reach out in the link below. Okay. Flat fee listing sounds more appealing these days with higher home prices. You could do that.
So
remember, you're going to get what you pay for.
what I do think this lawsuit's going to do is it's going to create turmoil initially. And I still think it's like a 2 to 5 year initial period, because a lot of people have to go through the system in buying and selling a house to get back into this new system. But then after that, it's going to be pretty cut and dry. You want a good agent, they're going to be a percentage based agent. If you want just a regular agent, they're going to be just a flat fee agent. So what I do think all of this will do is it will get rid of the gray and make everything black and white, and you're just going to choose your level of service based on how much you're willing to spend on that particular person.
I am liking these comments. We got some good action, good interaction in here. All right, see. Did the realtor invest any money in the home, pay taxes on the home, new curtains, new carpets, etc., and they get 6% off the top? So what I want you to understand is that commission is baked into the purchase price of the home. Just because if you choose not to pay a commission, I mean, you're not necessarily going to make any more money, because you're not going to have it marketed. You're not going to have people brought to your house. The commission is already inside the home. Just keep that in mind. Can we all agree most agents are pitiful? Oh my gosh. I'm not going to agree with that. I'm going to say that out of the 1.5 million real estate agents in this country, I'm going to tell you there are 250,000 of them that are fantastic, like awesome and incredible. I'm going to tell you there's another 250 that are solid. And then I'm going to tell you the rest are probably not. So that's what I'm going to say. And we run into a lot of really, really bad agents. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this agent is not responding to me. Like, it can be really, really bad.
But that's in any industry.
Industry.
Anything. If you're a plumber, if you're a landscaper, it's the same thing in any industry.
Yeah. Love the channel info on YouTube from other realtor stagers. Definitely for sale by owner people. Go for it. Depends on your market, and I tell you guys, if you can do it, do it. But I really do think that there is benefit in bringing an agent in. Now, Deacon, come on. All the agents in your town are slimy? All of them? Nah. Let me try that one out. Let me try that one. Let me see if I can help you. All right. Where are we at, work? What we should Deacon has had bad experience. Oh, okay. Totally believe you were an awesome agent. I talked to you on the phone, but most agents totally suck. Yeah, that can happen. That can happen. I agree. Oh my gosh.
Deep Down Agents 101 tonight.
It is. All right. So let's see. Should we go into some more questions?
Yeah, let's go back into the questions. Let some questions come up.
Okay. So let's see. Here we go. How are the rules varying by state? Are state real estate boards or associations just ignoring the NAR rules? Okay. So I consider myself to be like out of the agents out there and those who are educating themselves. I put myself at like the top 5% of knowledge, like the top 5% of people who are understanding this. I think Warwick and I talk quite a bit about this. And I'm just finishing up my term as association president. So I'm past president of my local association. So I'm very, very familiar with how the associations are working. So the rules are varying by state. So different MLS boards could have opted into the settlement agreement that NAR went into with the DOJ. And our local board did do that. Most local boards did do that. And in Washington state, there is a board that did not do that. However, they pretty much have been doing what the DOJ has wanted for many years already. So they feel like taking the commission out of the MLS makes it less transparent, which it does. There's going to be a lot of issues with this. Nobody's going to know. And then people are going to say, oh, yeah, they're paying a commission. And then they bring the contract and it's like, oh, there's no commission. It's going to be very, very difficult. So the local boards all get to choose their own. So depending on what state you are in, Colorado also has its own rules. And what was the other one that we had seen more? Which one? Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty much, I believe almost everybody else is following it, taking all of the commissions out of the MLS as of August 17th. So all of them will come out. So no one is ignoring these NAR rules. All of the agents know they have to have a buyer's agreement signed. In addition, the sellers are pushing this. So every agent really needs to be able to have a conversation with their sellers about it. The problem is if you are interviewing a selling agent and they are telling you that, well, this is just the way it is, you've got to talk to some other people. You really need to understand your exact location. Now, when I talked to that agent who was in Colorado to understand her market, she made a lot of sense. She made a lot of sense. All the sellers are still going to continue to pay out the 3% because there are, a lot of other homes. Their selling season is very, very short, only a certain time of the year. And if you're out and about driving all over Colorado for different locations, you're just going to be like to the buyer, do you want to go to this house? They're only paying a 1% commission. So you have to really, really understand your local market. In the Chicagoland market, I think it's going to go half and half. I think it's going to go really, really half and half. So nobody is ignoring the laws. No one. I don't think so. Anyone's ignoring. Just brokers who aren't NAR members. Okay. So it's a little complicated. So NAR is our association, but not every real estate agent is a part of NAR. Most commercial agents are not realtors. Okay. Most commercial real estate agents are not realtors. They're not a part of NAR. So they are not needing to necessarily follow this whole thing. However, commercial agents have always operated this way. Commercial agents always in their initial offer write into their letter of intent typically how much the seller is going to pay the buyer's agent. So commercial is much, much different. Brokers who aren't NAR members, no, any residential real estate agent is going to have to address this. It's not like I can go out into the community and gaslight a seller or a buyer that this isn't happening. These new rules only seem designed to benefit sellers in spite of what the lawsuit claimed. Even then, because of the way it affects buyers' ability to buy, it seems most sellers are still going to end up paying the buyer's agent most of the time through a concession. That lawsuit seems to have accomplished nothing more than making things more difficult for buyers and more complicated for everyone. That is exactly right. This is, I mean, the words I can't even tell you is that the real issue, the people who are going to have a real problem with this are the people who are low income or the uneducated. Absolutely, completely and totally. And it is going to make home ownership much, much more difficult for those people. Much more difficult.
Unless there is new financial products that come out, which I don't see there being anytime soon. It's just, it's hurt the first time and lower demographic home buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. So think about this for a second. Let's say you're a seller, okay, and you have a home that's $150,000 and you really are tight for money. You are going to say, we're not paying a buyer broker. Okay, that's fine. You're going to say, we're not going to pay a buyer broker. You're going to require the buyers to pay their own agents. Remember what we've said is that you cannot finance this commission. You can have it as a concession, okay, but you can't do a commission on top. You have to bring the cash to the closing table. So what's going to happen is that a buyer who's looking at a $150,000 house is going to have to pay a 2.5%, 3% on top of their down payment, of which they probably don't have much. And so those buyers are going to go directly to the listing agent, and those buyers will not be represented. They will not be represented. And they will overpay for a house. They won't know what they're doing. They'll buy the wrong houses because the listing agent is representing the seller. So I cannot believe that this government and this DOJ has actually done this knowing it is going to hurt low income people and not allow people to get homes. This is going to really hurt them. Now, in an affluent market, in a higher end price point, this will not affect them at all. Like I was just telling you, these are homes I was talking about in Colorado, 2 million and up. It's not, they're not even going to skip a beat. Sellers are paying 3%. They're paying out 3% to the buyers. That's just the way it is. And they're fine with it. And they know that's the name of the game. The lower price points are going to be devastated. Really, really, truly devastated.
So I haven't seen the question come up here, and I'm actually surprised. But what are your thoughts about just running to your attorney to write your deal up?
Yeah,
How
I mean,
does your husband think of that? What's the
well, he's not going to want to
implication?
do it. Yeah, he's a real estate attorney, but he's definitely not going to write up a contract. I mean, how are they going to see the home? So
Yeah.
they'll go to the open house and then they'll call my husband to write up the contract. He's going to be like, "All right, are you going to give me the contract? Where's the contract?" So because all these forms are already pre-printed, so the buyer's going to have to say, "Oh, you don't have that?" So he's going to have to go find the contract, and then he's still going to bill them, and he's going to bill them hourly. And when when it comes up, well, how much do you think we should pay? I don't know how much you should pay. He's
I'm
gonna
not a
be
real
like,
estate agent.
he's going to be like, I have no idea. I don't know what the homes are going for. And then when they say, well, what should we ask for in the inspection? I don't know. I didn't see the house. So like that's a great question. It's a really good question. Okay.
All righty, let's go to some of the questions right here. So Brian here, he bought a home out of town, and he arranged the inspection, and he showed up, but the realtor didn't, because it was a 5-hour drive. So
Yeah.
the one thing that I'm pulling away from this, why didn't you talk to the realtor saying you were going to attend the inspection? One thing I don't, now that I'm in this industry, just tell your agent everything, especially if they're working for you. The more you hide from them, the more difficult it is for them to do their job. Is anything wrong with your home? No, there's nothing wrong. Now, when you go to the market, say, oh, there's actually that leak in the basement I didn't tell you about. Well, now we're already live, and now it's more work. Tell us, we're not judging you. We're not doing anything. So, unfortunately, in this case, yes, the inspector can't let you in because he's not allowed to let you in. He's just the inspector. So the realtor had to be there, and unfortunately, they weren't. So yes, there's bad agents out there.
Yeah. So definitely you need to be talking to your agent about that. And you can't go in with the inspector. Definitely can't. Okay. Put my home on the market in a few months. I'll ask my realtor if she will take 2.5 and I'll pay the buyer's agent 2.5. So this is funny because 2.5 and 2.5 is typically the Chicagoland market. So the Florida market's 3 and 3 typically, and that's part of the problem with the lawsuit. If you're in the Chicagoland market, honestly, people are going to be doing it for much, much cheaper. I don't know if that has to do with like metro areas, rural areas. I don't really know what it is. But yes, that's typically what I'm making. Not always, but
True.
yeah. So yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Whatever's fair, what do you think it's fair? So, but I want you to add up that commission. What does 0.5% mean to you? What does 1% mean to you? If it's a $300,000 house and 1% is, $3,000, is that worth it to you to get the highest service and the best agents? Do you think most sellers will offer a buyer commission? I think at the higher price points, they certainly will. I do. I think they'll offer it. Also, if you are in a buyer's market, those sellers had better be offering that commission. I mean, it's going to be very hard, very, very hard, because the buyer is going to be like, well, I'm not paying when I've got all of these homes that I can go and look at. I'm not going to pay on top of that. So that's why as a seller, you have to be understanding the whole industry. And it's crazy because I see so many people who are like thinking that this is like, oh my gosh, we're going to save so much money. The price of the home is the price of the home. Commissions were baked into the price of the home. And yes, there may be more of a net profit somewhere, but there might be less. So it's not I'm going to make 6% more. It's just not necessarily going to happen.
This is why we're in the lawsuit.
Right. So, okay. So when I was a realtor with a traditional company, we were required to charge 7%, no reductions for listing with Coldwell Banker. Now your brokerage is allowed to set prices. Okay. So keep that in mind. Your brokerage is allowed to set prices. Now, brokerage, Coldwell Banker, and Compass, if they're talking together, that's what they were saying that the industry was doing. I'd never actually heard that at all. But let me tell you why that is a problem, is because Coldwell Banker says to a brand new agent over here, one transaction and says to an experienced agent over here, 700 transactions, you both will charge the exact same amount. And so the new agent goes in and they've played tennis with these sellers. They're like, oh, I'm going to totally help you. It's going to be awesome. I'll be your agent. And then the experienced agent goes in and says, these are all the reasons you need to choose me. And then the sellers are like, well, what does it really matter? Real estate agents don't do anything. So the problem is that then the new agent gets 7% and the experienced agent gets 7%. And you as consumers have seen no difference in the amount of money. Now what's going to happen is that new agents are not going to be able to charge as much as experienced agents. So if you are looking for a deal, if that is most important, go to somebody who's going to give you a deal. Go to somebody who wants to get their feet wet with a 1% commission. Don't expect you're going to come to a high-level experienced agent who has tons of expenses, who is going to do that. So I could talk all day about this, I know. Really, truly, as you guys know.
All righty. So you've asked this question a couple times now, just because we got no other questions. So let's go to disclosures. How do they work? Look, every state's a bit different and what they're required to be disclosed or not. But again, this is part of why you have an agent. What your agent knows needs to be disclosed or not. So this is part of having an agent that has knowledge, because if you go for sale by owner and you don't disclose because you thought you didn't have to disclose that, that gets you in trouble. That's part of why you need an agent, because disclosures are important, because if you misdisclose, you will get sued.
So we have a couple of last conversations I want to talk to you about, a couple last questions. These are from our Facebook group. So if you guys are in our Facebook group, go ahead and put a little Facebook, yay, thumbs up in the chat, because we love our Facebook group. Got, 1,300 people in there. It hasn't been up that long. Anybody can ask anybody anything. I mean, I'm looking at it more towards the end of the day, and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, we have like 40 new posts. So people are putting in their pictures there, uploading everything. So some of these are from our Facebook group. But if you have a specific question, I want you to join the Facebook group and you can ask it in there. Most likely Warwick and I are going to get to it and answer it. But sometimes before we do, there are like 50 comments. So this was one in there. I've seen that one should list at a round number, 600. So you capture views on buyers looking up to 600 and those that are looking 600 and up. But do viewers on Zillow Realtor really look that way? Yes, they do. So here's the situation is that if you are listing at $599, okay, especially if your home is like a fixer upper, because you really know if you're like $599, but you're really like somebody needs to have a budget of like 800,000. And they're only looking, those people might only be looking 600 and up, right? You're not going to be in their search. That's why listing at the number, the round number, gets you into more searches. It gets you up to 600 and 600 and up. That's why a $999 list price is not a great price. I've done it. I do it sometimes depending on the market. But if you hit $1 million, you're going to get people looking $1 million and up to $1 million. So it gets more views on your property. Definitely. Okay. Oh, we'll talk about this one. So Lisa Spaniak and I got fired. Lisa's my daughter. She's actually right over here, sitting here. She just went for a run. But we got fired. I put this in the Facebook group, and I wanted to talk to you guys about why. So we got fired as a buyer's agent, and we allow people to cancel with us at any time because we want a good relationship. And it wasn't because they were angry or upset with us or anything like that. I think their expectations were more than what we were going to necessarily provide for them. Whatever, doesn't necessarily matter one way or another. But the point is that from our perspective, we were showing them homes. We spent a lot of time with them. We were educating them on the market. So we'd worked with them for 3 months, educating them, showing them all these different homes. And we missed a home. We missed sending them a home because it was not in a town that they had told us that they wanted to be in. It was in a town next to it, but they felt like we should have included that in our search. Now, should we have? Maybe, but they knew which towns we were searching in, and that was not a town that they ever said. Now, I was not going to be like, well, you never told us this, you didn't tell us this, but in their eyes, their perspective was that we did not show them that home. and they kept asking us questions about buyers agency fee. They kept asking us questions like, what was it going to mean? How are they going to pay for that? Like, that's what I want you to know from the buyer's perspective. Okay. So now what's probably going to happen, I'm thinking, is they're probably going to go straight to a listing agent. Now that we've educated them on the market, they'll go straight to a listing agent. But no listing agent is going to know who they are. They're not going to know they're pre-approved. And these buyers don't necessarily know if that's the right amount for the house. They don't necessarily know what they should be paying for the house. So are they? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they'll find somebody else who's a better fit. But I just want you guys to recognize that it's not just opening the doors, it's an education process. It's giving people education about how to get from here to there. But it does happen. You should be allowed to cancel your contract with people. You really, really should. I want you guys to make sure you have some type of an out. We allow people to cancel at any time, and I eat costs and I eat time because I want a good recommendation. I don't want them talking poorly about me. If a real estate agent is not letting you cancel a buyer or a seller agreement with you, that's, because what's going to happen? Who are you going to tell? You're going to tell all your friends. You're going to tell all your family members that agent is terrible. And then that word will get around, whether or not there was miscommunication or whatever it is. So if you guys are having an issue with your agent, you need to have a very, very honest conversation. If your agent is not, if your home is not selling, you need to have a very, very honest conversation and find out what is going on. Okay, a couple things. We have a few minutes left. I want to go over this new seller playbook, because our latest video, you guys got to go look at it. This one is going to be like a cornerstone, I think, for our channel. And the reason why is because I've had so many people who, when they, like we had a couple chats in here, should I replace this? Should I do this? And it's hard for me to answer. Should I remove my ornate mirror? Well, there are a lot of questions that you need to answer. And I have created a seller's matrix, a profitable homeowner investment matrix. And this is an actual quiz that you are going to take as a seller, and you're going to determine which category your home is in. And it's one of 5 categories. Okay. And it goes from needs a full gut rehab to completely move-in ready. And from doing this, I'm going to share exactly the percentage that you should put into your home based on the condition the home is in. So when you ask me, should I paint? Well, what category is your home in? Is it in restoration required, or is it in modern move-in? Is it, should you put in new carpet? And if you go and watch the video, you're going to understand some of the examples that I'm talking about. And then I'm going to go into new examples as well about some of the categories. And I'm going to show you even more examples in upcoming videos too. So this is the quiz that we've created. It is completely proprietary. You will never find this information anywhere else unless they steal it from me. This is exactly what I've built based upon your questions, our Facebook group, our videos, our comments, everything like that. So I want to make sure you guys download that seller's playbook today. So you basically go through and you kind of circle all those things, and then you add it up, and then it goes into the right category. So our seller checklist is right there, our playbook. You definitely should take a look at it. If you've done it before, this is new. I've added, I think we're at 32 pages right now, and it's totally free. It's really like an ebook. I think I should be charging for it. If you guys have it, yeah. Who might pay for this? Maybe not a lot, but who might pay for this? I'll tell you, it's free. It's totally worth the cost of entry. And then you guys know if you need an agent, we will help you vet an agent. You want to come over, Lise? Come on over. Oh, she just went for a run, so she's not gonna come over. She says she's all sweaty. But Lisa and I are out there. We're finding agents for you and really working with you to make sure it's the right one. And I know who all of you are. Pretty much I do. If you're reaching out to me, I absolutely know who you are. I'm stalking you. I'm looking at your home on Zillow, things like that. So, yep. Your Shasta score is a 35. Awesome. That's fantastic to hear.
Yep. Well, you're on fire today, Katie. You're on fire today.
I am passionate today, right?
And then the chat's been great. We almost hit 100 views at once, so that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for the interaction. Let's go through and see if we have any more questions.
I love checking out the Facebook page and sometimes stating my opinion that no one really needs. But you know what? I realize that we've become kind of like a resource for people. And it's a community where people feel like they can just talk about the stuff that they're not finding anywhere else. What is, what do you guys think of this kitchen? Now, here's the problem that I see sort of with the Facebook group is that our group are not our necessarily target buyers. And so the group is like, all the same. They're sellers. And so people are like, should I replace my kitchen? And most of the people will be like, no, it looks great. It's perfect. I love it. And then I get on there and I'm like, yeah, you might want to. So it's two different things. It's not about, is it good? It's about optimizing and selling the home for the most amount of money possible and fast.
And that matrix is what's going to help you decide what needs to be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My last realtor I felt was horrible. Certainly didn't do much. And I'm so sorry about that. I know there are a lot of people out there that are like that. Perfect. Yes, you like the quiz. Awesome. Oh, playbook is fantastic. Thanks, Janice. Thank you very much. So, I don't know, Warwick. I think that was pretty lively today.
No, I think that was a great one, guys. Thanks for participating, everyone. I think you got Katie all fired up. I just sat back and watched because she definitely was on a roll. So keep all the live streams like this, and then we'll be good to go.
Every Monday, you guys know. Every Monday, we're here, and I'm always available for you guys. I don't respond; it's rare. So reach out, post on our Facebook group, and if you need an agent, let us know.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you next week at the same time.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.